Hi, I'm Luc Poon with the King County Auditor's Office. I'm going to share with you some highlights of our report responding to a proviso the County Council included in the 2023-24 budget. The proviso asked us to look at Metro Transit's plans and progress toward achieving a zero-emissions bus fleet by 2025, with a particular emphasis on the capital work necessary. This is important because there will be significant capital costs and construction work to upgrade bases for charging and build layover charging for buses en route. Our full report also includes a follow-up on several recommendations that we made in a 2023 audit of Metro's capital delivery processes. Overall, we made 6 recommendations in this audit, and the executive concurred with all of them. We'd like to thank Metro staff for their cooperation. We really appreciate the time and attention they dedicated to our audit. So today, I would like to summarize the findings that we will present. Slides working? Yeah, here we go. To summarize, we found that Metro Transit has made positive progress toward converting its bus fleet to zero emissions amid a variety of significant market risks. In part to mitigate these risks, Metro is exploring diversifying zero emissions technologies beyond battery electric buses. The shift to ZE, or zero emissions, requires Metro to plan for how it will fulfill its potential emergency responsibilities without buses that run on regular fuel. And lastly, tight timelines required by the county's 2035 goal to reach a zero emissions fleet require Metro to improve capital project planning and coordination. So with regard to Metro's positive progress in the zero emissions effort, the department has really focused in the last 18 months standing up a strategic zero emissions leadership team, engaging divisions across the agency in planning and culture change efforts. Metro realizes the need to be bold and collaborative in order to work at the pace necessary to meet the 2035 goal. One of the things Metro has done is engage a consultant, Parametrics, in a multi-phase study to define a baseline path that identifies what Metro would need to do to transition to zero emissions. The first phase of this assessment is complete, and it provided information on where Metro needs to focus to make that 2035 goal feasible. Metro also engaged with peers and industry organizations across the country to share lessons learned and learn from others' experiences so that staff can apply the best available knowledge to the ZE effort. You asked us to report on risks to the zero emissions effort, and we found 4 main areas of risk. The first is that current technology does not meet all of Metro's service needs, particularly with rapid ride routes that require frequent service on long routes. The current battery technology doesn't have the range and the time to charge is too long to accommodate these routes at this time. Secondly, it's difficult for Metro to ensure enough electricity supply for all of those battery electric buses. Metro is negotiating additional electricity infrastructure build-out, which can take 6 to 8 years, with both Seattle City Light and Puget Sound Energy. But utilities need a specificity about how much electricity Metro will need that's difficult to come by when technology is still developing. So Metro has secured enough electricity as far as it can plan at this time with Seattle City Light, but the 2 east side bases, Bellevue and East Base, are dependent on negotiations with Puget Sound Energy that are still ongoing. So thirdly, just like in King County, jurisdictions across the country are transitioning their bus fleets to decrease greenhouse gas emissions with help from recently available federal funding. Increasing demand for zero emissions buses creates competition and extends wait time for stock. And then compounding the problem of increasing demand is decreasing supply. And I'll show you another chart on this next slide to illustrate that. So as you can see here, there were 5 manufacturers of zero emissions buses until 2022, but then 3 dropped out in the last year and a half, citing supply chain disruption and inflation as factors for leaving the US market. This leaves in 2024 only 2 manufacturers making the kinds of zero emissions buses that Metro needs. So here we are, the little marker shows 2024 on this timeline, and you can see King County's zero emissions goal of 2035. Now, this goal is more ambitious than a lot of similar jurisdictions. As you can see, most of them are clustered around 2040 or later. Los Angeles's zero emissions goal is currently set at 2030, but there's been some debate reported in local media in response to claims by their transit agency that it is not possible for them to meet the 2030 goal in light of the technology and market risks. So Metro is looking at all of the available options to try to hit that 2035 goal. And one of the things that they are investigating is diversifying propulsion systems beyond just the battery electric buses that we have starting up now. As you can see in this graphic, Metro's current plan is to transition to a zero emissions bus fleet through reducing the number of hybrid diesel buses, those are shown in blue, and increasing the number of battery electric buses, shown in orange. They also plan to continue using and potentially expand the number of electric trolleys, those are shown in green there, the ones that run on overhead wires. In 2023, Metro started internal discussions on whether it might make sense to explore hydrogen fuel cell buses and decided to move forward with a pilot project that could provide more information about whether these hydrogen fuel cell buses could be an effective addition to their zero emissions plan. But one complicating factor that we wanted to highlight is how Metro will fulfill its potential roles in disasters and emergencies using battery electric or other zero emissions buses instead of hybrid diesels. The county's emergency plans state that Metro could be called upon to use buses to help evacuate people or support emergency and recovery operations. Transitioning to a different propulsion system like electric or hydrogen could have implications for Metro's ability to fulfill that role if, for example, there was no electricity and Metro was not prepared for fueling the buses in the case of an emergency. Metro hasn't determined yet how it will accommodate its potential emergency responsibilities through its transition planning. But right now the fleet is mostly hybrid diesel buses. So there isn't a risk at this moment, but some options to fulfill that emergency role could require additional physical infrastructure, as well as potentially safety equipment and procedures. The planning is already underway for the construction projects to transition the bus bases. And if they make changes to these projects too late, it could be costly to accommodate changes related to emergency planning. So to address this issue, we recommended that Metro Transit document how it plans to clarify and fulfill its emergency responsibilities as it transitions to a zero emissions fleet and incorporate emergency contingency strategies into capital project planning as needed. So the last 4 findings we will discuss today are related to the capital work needed to support a zero emissions fleet. Metro will need to complete work at all 8 of its bases in addition to a number of other projects. This graphic shows the current planned timeline of just the base work, which you can see extends past 2035. However, except for the interim and South Annex bases, the project estimates are still preliminary. Division leaders stated that they will continue to look for ways to reduce timeframes to fit within that 2035 goal. In addition to this base work, Metro has numerous other capital projects to support zero emissions, including layover charging stations, planning projects, and trolley projects. The amount of work will likely change over time. For example, if battery electric technology does not improve, Metro might have to install many more layover charging stations than currently planned. Or if Metro has a successful pilot of its hydrogen fuel cell buses and decides to pursue adding that type of bus to its fleet, that could change the type of infrastructure needed. What this means is that any efforts to improve project delivery require action sooner rather than later to get the best benefits. The Capital Division is taking positive steps to improve its processes. We detail a number of these steps in the report. Now I'll briefly discuss 4 promising ones. We found that formalizing these actions could help ensure that Metro achieves the intended benefits. So the first is on collaborative delivery methods, sometimes called alternative delivery. These capital project delivery methods can help save time and mitigate risks over traditional methods through different approaches to working with contractors and project phases. The Capital Division is building its capacity to use these methods by doing things like developing training and updating its project management guidance. However, it currently lacks a formal plan to bring these efforts together into a strategy to be able to use the methods well. King County's Wastewater Treatment Division, or WTD, hired a consultant to help create a plan for them to formalize collaborative delivery methods, including developing strategies, timeframes, and metrics to build experience and processes for using these methods well. For WTD, the goal of their plan is to achieve Washington State certification for collaborative delivery by 2026, which can help save projects time by avoiding review processes at the state level. For Metro, a strategy could help achieve similar benefits by organizing its current efforts and potentially achieving state certification, which would save each project time. To help ensure that Metro Transit can most effectively use collaborative delivery and achieve desired time savings, we recommend that it develop, document, and implement a strategy for using collaborative delivery, which could include pursuing the Washington State certification. So our last three findings are on areas where Metro's capital division is working with other groups to improve projects, but hasn't formalized those relationships. The government relations staff within Metro's Safety, Security, and Quality Assurance Division, and County Central Procurement in the Finance and Business Operations Division. The Capital Division has been engaging with these groups as part of its zero emissions work, which has led to more collaboration on projects than in the past. But staff from these groups told us that making early engagement and continuous updates a more routine practice would help ensure that they can effectively meet project needs. Including these groups is important because they can help mitigate known capital project risks, like delays from processes in other jurisdictions like permitting. This is where government relations staff can help the Capital Division work with other jurisdictions ahead of time if they know a project is coming. Project elements can end up being less safe to operate and need to be changed. This is where Safety, Security, and Quality Assurance Division can provide subject matter expertise in design to help mitigate this risk. And lastly, delays in the procurement of goods and services. This is where Central Procurement can help mitigate the delays if they know procurement needs are coming. This will be especially important over the next 10 years as the county as a whole will be doing a lot of major capital work. So to continue its work to ensure better collaboration and address project risks, we made 3 recommendations for Metro Transit to develop, document, and implement a structure for working with these groups. To summarize, we found that Metro Transit has made positive progress amid a variety of significant market risks, including fewer manufacturers and lowered battery electric coach performance. In order to mitigate these risks, Metro is exploring diversifying bus technologies beyond battery electric buses. Metro will need to plan for how to meet its potential emergency responsibilities as it changes bus technology. And lastly, improving capital project delivery through better planning and more formalized coordination can help ensure Metro Transit can complete its zero emissions capital work. Thank you, and I would encourage you to go online to review our full report because there's more in there than I was able to talk about today, but I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.